Snow fell the way it always did in this town. Quiet, patient, almost gentle, like it believed softness could heal anything. The streets were dressed in Christmas lights and old memories. Wreaths hung on doors that had held the same families for generations. Somewhere down Main Street, a choir rehearsed inside the church, their voices spilling into the night like a promise. But promises were dangerous things. Ava had learned that the hard way. In a town where everyone knew everyone, people also remembered everything. And sometimes they remembered your heartbreak better than you did. Inside the small community library, half sanctuary, half battleground, Ava stood on a ladder, fastening a string of warm lights along a window frame. She worked with the steady hands of someone who had learned to keep going even when life tried to stop her. The room smelled like cinnamon tea and old paper, and the Christmas tree by the front desk blinked unevenly, one section brighter than the rest. Ava didn't fix it. Some things, she'd realized, weren't meant to be perfect. Some things only needed to keep shining. On a table near the entrance sat boxes labeled toys, blankets, canned food. A handwritten sign taped to the door read, "Christmas Eve Community Drive. Give what you can." Ava's handwriting was clean, careful, disciplined, like she was trying to keep chaos from spilling into the world. She moved from box to box, checking lists, counting donations, retying ribbons that had come loose. If she stayed busy, she didn't have to think. And if she didn't think, her chest didn't tighten at the memories that always came back this time of year. Because Christmas had a cruel way of shining a spotlight on what was missing. Empty chairs, unanswered calls, names that used to feel like home and now felt like a bruise. Ava had gotten used to being the strong one, the woman who organized everything, the woman who didn't crumble, the woman who smiled at the kids coming in with their parents and said, "Merry Christmas," like the words didn't cost her something. The town admired her, people loved her, they trusted her. But nobody saw the part of Ava that still flinched when she heard certain footsteps on the sidewalk outside. And tonight the air felt different. Even before the bell over the door rang, even before the wind pushed a sharper cold against the glass, Ava had that strange awareness, like the world was holding its breath. The library lights flickered once, then steadied. Ava paused, one hand resting on the edge of a donation box, and she listened. The choir's distant melody, the hum of the heater, the soft shush of snow tapping the window. Then, another sound. A car engine slowing outside, tires crunching on ice, a door closing. Ava's body reacted before her mind could argue. Her stomach dipped, her shoulders tensed. She hated that about herself, how her past could still reach through time and touch her like this. She inhaled slowly, told herself she was fine, told herself she was safe, told herself she was over it. She stepped back up onto the ladder, lifted the string of lights again, and forced her hands to keep moving. But her eyes kept drifting to the window. Outside, the streetlights made the snow glow like ash. On the other side of town, Nathan's car crawled along the familiar road as if it didn't want to arrive. His hands were tight on the steering wheel, knuckles pale, throat dry. The dashboard clock blinked the wrong time, like even the machine couldn't keep track of what he'd lost. He hadn't been here in years, not since the night he left, not since the night he chose himself over the truth, not since the night he turned love into something Ava had to survive. The town looked smaller than he remembered, and somehow heavier. Every porch light, every decorated tree, every Christmas wreath felt like judgment. Like the whole place had been waiting to see what kind of man would dare come back after doing what he did. Nathan swallowed hard, his gaze catching on the church steeple, on the diner with the glowing sign, on the frozen pond where kids would skate in the morning. He remembered laughter, he remembered warmth, he remembered Ava's smile, before he taught her that smiles could disappear overnight. He pulled into a parking spot across from the library. The building stood there like a quiet witness, windows glowing soft gold in the dark. Nathan didn't move right away. His chest hurt the way it hurt when guilt had nowhere to go. He had rehearsed words the entire drive, apologies, explanations, confessions. But the closer he got, the more useless they sounded, because some sins didn't deserve words. They deserved consequences. Nathan looked down at the envelope on the passenger seat. It was thick, handwritten. His name wasn't on it. Ava's was. He had written it 3 times, torn it twice, started again until his hand cramped. And still the words didn't feel enough. Nothing ever felt enough. A miracle, he thought, would be to even get a chance to give it to her. Another miracle would be if she read it. And the biggest miracle of all would be if she didn't shut the door in his face the way she should. Inside the library, the bell above the door finally rang, bright and sharp. Ava froze on the ladder, one hand gripping the rung. "We're closed in 10, she called automatically, voice steady, practiced. She didn't turn around yet. She didn't want to. She knew how her mind played tricks, how it could attach terror to ordinary sounds. She forced herself to breathe. She forced her shoulders down. She forced her voice to stay calm. "If you're here for the drive, donations can go in the boxes by the front." No answer came. Just the quiet sound of boots on the floor. Slow, heavy, like the person stepping forward was carrying something invisible. Ava's heart beat once, hard enough to feel. She turned, still on the ladder, and her eyes found the silhouette near the entrance. The warm light from the tree reflected off the glass behind him. Snow clung to his coat. His hair was darker than she remembered. His face, thinner. His posture, bowed, as if the weight of the past had finally caught up. Ava's fingers tightened so hard on the ladder rung it hurt. For a second, her mind rejected what she was seeing, like reality was a cruel joke. She blinked once, twice, and he was still there. Nathan, in the doorway, in her space. In December again. The way he had been the last time. Except the last time he'd been full of certainty. This time he looked like a man who had been broken by the very thing he ran from. The air between them turned thick. The library suddenly felt too small. Ava's mouth opened, but nothing came out at first. She hated that. She hated how her voice had disappeared, like she was the one who had done something wrong. Then her tongue finally worked, and the words that came out weren't soft or sweet. They were honest. "No." The single syllable dropped between them like a door slamming. "You don't get to do this." Nathan flinched, not in anger, not in offense, more like relief, as if being met with her truth was the first real thing he'd felt in years. His eyes lifted to hers, and there was no charm there, no confidence, no arrogance, just regret, raw and unpolished. "Ava," he said quietly, as if her name was a prayer he didn't deserve to speak. I know I don't." Ava's throat burned. She climbed down the ladder carefully, every movement controlled, as if the wrong step might make the past swallow her whole. When her feet hit the floor, she didn't rush toward him. She didn't run away either. She stood there, arms at her sides, a woman who had built herself out of survival. Her eyes shone, not with tears yet, but with the warning of them. "What are you doing here?" she asked, and the words were quiet, but they carried years. Nathan swallowed, his gaze flicking to the donation boxes, the tree, the lights, the handmade ornaments with children's names written on them. He looked like a stranger in a place that used to know him. "I came back," he said, voice rough, "because I couldn't keep living like the man who left." He paused, and the pause was heavy with everything he had never said. "And because I need to fix what I broke." His fingers tightened around the envelope. "I'm not asking you to forgive me tonight. I'm not asking you for anything, I need you to hear the truth." Ava stared at the envelope like it was a weapon, like it was too late, like it was everything she once begged for and now didn't trust. Outside, snow kept falling, indifferent, patient. Inside, the Christmas lights blinked softly, as if they didn't know they were about to witness something sacred and devastating. Ava's voice came out in a whisper that sounded like steel. "You left me before Christmas," she said, each word measured. "And I stopped waiting a long time ago." She lifted her chin, eyes locked to his. "So tell me, Nathan, what makes you think you deserve to come back now?" Nathan didn't answer her question right away. He just stood there, snow melting off his shoulders onto the welcome mat like proof he was real. Ava's eyes stayed on him the way you look at a fire you don't trust. Beautiful, dangerous, capable of turning everything to ash. The library felt suddenly too warm, too bright. too full of memories that had never been invited back. Nathan's throat worked as if he was swallowing stones. "I don't deserve it," he said finally, voice low, raw. "That's why I'm not asking." Ava let out a laugh that wasn't humor, more like disbelief trying to protect her from screaming. "Not asking?" she repeated, stepping closer just enough to keep him from pretending this was gentle. "You walked into my life again. That's asking." Her gaze flicked to the envelope in his hand and something sharp tightened in her chest. Letters had never saved her. Promises had never kept her warm at night. "Whatever you wrote there," she added, "it doesn't change what you did." Nathan nodded once, like he'd already accepted the verdict and came anyway. He looked around the library, the toy boxes, the handmade ornaments, the little paper stars taped to the windows by children who believed in magic. His eyes softened, then darkened with regret. "I know," he said. "I'm not here to rewrite the past. I'm here to own it." He held the envelope out carefully, not pushing it into her space, just offering it like a confession. "Read it when you want. Or don't. But it's the truth." Ava didn't take it. She crossed her arms instead, the way she always did when life tried to corner her. "The truth?" she asked, quiet and cutting. "Is the truth that you left because you didn't love me enough?" Her voice cracked on the word enough, and she hated herself for that weakness. She had rebuilt her life without his name in it. She had told herself she was fine. Yet there it was. One look at him and the old wound was breathing again. Nathan's shoulders dipped, as if the question landed exactly where it should. "No," he said, and it came out immediate, too fast to be rehearsed. "It wasn't that." He rubbed his thumb against the edge of the envelope until it bent slightly. "But I'm not going to insult you with excuses. I made a choice. I chose the easy way out. And the easy way out destroyed you." His eyes lifted, wet but steady. "I know that. I live with that." Ava turned away, not because she was done, because she couldn't stand to let him see what those words did to her. She walked toward the tree, pretended to fix a crooked ornament. Her hands trembled, so she forced them to stop. "You live with that?" she repeated, voice flatter now. "Good." She swallowed hard. "Because I had to live through it." She faced him again, chin lifted, eyes bright with restrained emotion. "You don't get to come back and act like regret makes you safe." Nathan nodded, absorbing every sentence like a punishment he deserved. "I'm not safe," he admitted. "I'm late." He glanced at the boxes again. "I heard about the community drive," he said, shifting to something practical like a man trying not to drown. "I want to help." Ava's expression didn't soften. If anything, it hardened. "No," she said. "I don't need your help." Nathan's jaw tightened. "Ava," I said no. The silence that followed was the kind that echoed. Ava could hear the heater clicking, the old building settling, the distant choir still singing through the snow. She wanted to throw him out. She wanted to slam the door and lock it and never give the past another chance to bruise her. But she also wanted to know why he was really here. And she hated that wanting. She hated that some part of her still cared whether he was cold, whether he ate, whether he slept. That part of her felt like betrayal. Nathan's gaze dropped to the floor like he'd expected this. "Okay," he said quietly. "I won't step over your boundary." He took a slow breath, then added, "But I'm staying in town." Ava's eyes snapped up. "Why?" she asked, sharper than she intended. Nathan hesitated. "Because I have to," he said. "Because I owe you more than a drive-by apology." Ava took a step closer. "And if I tell you to leave?" Nathan met her eyes. "Then I'll leave your space," he said. "But not the work." Ava stared at him, trying to find the manipulation she expected, the charm, the easy smile, the man who used to make people forgive him with a laugh. But that man wasn't here. The one standing in front of her looked older, quieter, like life had stripped him of everything except the truth. And that scared her more than arrogance ever had, because arrogance was predictable. A humbled man could be real, and real was dangerous because real could reach her. "You don't get to do work on me," Ava said, voice trembling with anger she used as armor. I'm not your redemption project. Nathan's face tightened, pain flashing across it. I know, he said. That's not what I meant. He held up his hands, palms open, surrender. The work isn't you. It's me. It's what I broke, the people I hurt, the things I ran from. His voice dropped. I can't carry what I did and pretend Christmas lights erase it. Ava's eyes flicked to the envelope again. The truth, he'd called it. The word tasted bitter in her mouth, because truth had been the thing she never got. She had lived with silence, with unanswered questions, with the humiliation of people whispering behind her back like she was the foolish girl who believed in love. Everyone here remembers, she said slowly. Do you know what they called me after you left? Nathan's face went pale. Ava. She lifted a hand, stopping him. No. You don't get to protect yourself from it. Ava's voice stayed controlled, but her eyes were burning now. They called me naive, she continued. They said I should have known you'd never stay. They said I got what I deserved for loving someone like you. She swallowed, the words cutting her even now. And the worst part? She took a breath that shook. I believed them for a while. Nathan's eyes glistened, shame deepening his expression. He looked like he wanted to disappear. I'm sorry, he whispered. Ava shook her head. Sorry doesn't rewind time. The bell above the door rang again. This time, a gust of wind pushed it as if the building itself was restless. Ava looked toward the window and saw her reflection layered over the snow outside. A woman standing in warm light, facing a ghost. She hated that she still remembered how Nathan's hands felt around hers, how his voice used to say her name like it meant something. She hated that memory could be so tender and so cruel at once. If you're staying, she said, you stay out of my life. Nathan swallowed, nodding slowly. I will, he said. Then, like the universe loved irony, the library phone rang. Ava flinched at the sudden sound, then moved to the desk, picked it up. Ava Harper, she said automatically. Her posture shifted as she listened. The color drained from her face. What do you mean the sponsor pulled out? She asked, voice tightening. She listened again, eyes darting to the donation list. But the event is in 5 days. Her fingers clenched around the receiver. Nathan watched her, understanding flickering across his face. Ava hung up slowly, as if the weight of the news pressed her hands down. She stared at the desk, breathing shallowly. The community drive was bigger than lights and carols. It was winter coats for kids, food boxes for elderly neighbors, a Christmas Eve meal for families who had nothing. Ava had promised people. She didn't break promises, not even when life demanded it. Nathan took one careful step forward. What happened? He asked. Ava didn't want to answer him. She didn't want him involved. She didn't want him anywhere near something that mattered. But the panic in her chest had nowhere to go. We lost the sponsor, she said tightly. The funds. The last-minute delivery. She pressed a hand to her forehead like she could hold the problem back. If I can't replace it, we can't do half of what we planned. Nathan's gaze dropped, then lifted again with quiet certainty. How much? He asked. Ava's head snapped up like he'd insulted her. No, she said immediately, voice sharp enough to cut glass. Absolutely not. Nathan didn't argue. He just nodded once, accepting the boundary. Then he placed the envelope on the corner of the desk, gently, like setting down something fragile. I won't buy your forgiveness, he said, voice steady. But I can still help the town, I can still do the right thing. He looked at her, the regret in his eyes almost unbearable. And even if you never let me back in, I'll prove I'm not the man who leaves anymore. The next morning, the town woke up under a fresh layer of snow, as if the night had tried to cover everything. Streets, rooftops, old scars. Ava stood at the library window with a mug of coffee going cold in her hands, watching the first cars crawl down Main Street. The Christmas lights still blinked, stubborn and cheerful, like they didn't know hearts could break. She had barely slept, not because of the sponsor, not even because of the donations, because Nathan was back, because her past had walked through the door, breathing. She told herself she wouldn't think about him. She told herself she wouldn't look for him. But the town did what towns always did. News spread faster than snowfall. By 10 a.m., 2 women dropped off canned goods and stayed long enough to speak in careful, curious tones. "Did you hear?" one whispered, as if Ava were deaf instead of wounded. "He's here." Ava kept sorting blankets, not looking up. "People come and go," she answered, voice too even. The women exchanged glances. Ava felt them like needles. When they left, the silence returned, but it didn't soothe her. It pressed. Ava pulled out her notebook, the one with the event schedule, the supply list, the budget scribbled in tight lines. Losing the sponsor meant losing heating rentals for the outdoor tents, extra meals for families, and the toy shipments promised by a local company. Ava stared at the numbers until they blurred. She would find a way. She always did. Because if she failed, it wouldn't be a simple inconvenience. It would be children without gifts, elderly neighbors without a warm meal. And that was not an option. By noon, Ava was at the community center meeting room, presenting the problem to a small group of volunteers. The space smelled like paper cups and pine cleaner, with flyers of past festivals taped to the walls like history trying to encourage them. People looked tired. Everyone was stretched thin. "We can cut back," someone suggested. "Make it smaller this year." Ava's jaw tightened. She didn't build her life on smaller. She built it on showing up. "We cut back," she said, "and the people who need it most pay." She left the meeting with a tight smile and a heavier chest. Outside, the wind slapped cold against her face, and she walked faster as if speed could outrun reality. She passed the diner, the church, the post office, places that had seen her grow up, fall in love, and then piece herself together when love left. That was the cruel part, healing in public. Every corner of town held a memory. And now Nathan was another memory walking around like it had permission. Ava turned the corner and stopped. Across the street, a man in a dark coat was hauling boxes out of a pickup truck parked beside the community center. He moved like someone who didn't want attention, head down, shoulders heavy, working steadily. A few volunteers stood nearby, confused but thankful, accepting the boxes as if they couldn't refuse. Ava recognized the shape of him before she recognized his face. Her stomach dropped. Nathan. He was unloading donations. Blankets, canned goods, cases of bottled water, bags of toys sealed in plastic. Ava crossed the street with quick, angry steps. "What are you doing?" she demanded before she even reached him. Nathan looked up, breath visible in the cold. His eyes held no surprise, like he'd expected her storm. "Helping," he said simply. Ava's laugh came out sharp. "I told you no." Nathan nodded once. "I know," he said, lifting another box. "So I'm not helping you. I'm helping them." He gestured subtly toward the volunteers, the center, the town. Ava's eyes narrowed. She hated how reasonable he sounded. She hated how his calm made her look like the unreasonable one, even though she had every right to be furious. "You can't just," she started. "You can't just show up and play the hero." Nathan set the box down carefully. "I'm not a hero," he said, voice quiet. "Heroes don't run away." His gaze held hers, steady and unflinching. "I'm doing what I should have done back then. Show up, even if it costs me." Ava's throat tightened, and she forced her voice to stay level. "And what exactly is the cost?" she asked, eyes scanning the boxes. Nathan's jaw flexed. "It costs my pride," he said. "It costs my comfort." He paused. "It costs me not being liked, not being welcomed." He lifted another case of bottled water. "I deserve all of that." Ava's hands curled into fists at her sides. "You think that makes you safe?" she asked again, like the question was a shield. Nathan's answer was soft. "No. A volunteer." Mrs. Delaney, who'd known Ava since she was a teenager, stepped between them, eyes wide. "Ava, honey," she murmured, careful as glass. He brought a lot." Ava's gaze flicked to the older woman, then back to Nathan, resentment twisting deeper because now refusing felt like refusing the people. "Where did all this come from?" Ava asked. Nathan didn't hesitate. "From me," he said. Ava's eyebrows lifted. "From your money?" Nathan shook his head once. "From my choices," he corrected. Ava stared at him. A part of her wanted to say, "You can't buy the past." Another part wanted to scream, "Then why did you leave when I needed you, if you were capable of this?" But she didn't give him the satisfaction of her pain. She turned to the volunteers instead. "Take the boxes inside," she said crisply, reclaiming control. Mrs. Delaney nodded. People moved. Nathan lifted more boxes without being asked. Ava watched him for a second too long and hated herself for noticing the exhaustion in his face. When the last box was carried in, Ava stepped close again, lowering her voice. "This doesn't change anything," she said. Nathan's eyes didn't flinch. "I know," he replied. Ava leaned in slightly, anger sharpened by fear. "Then stop," she whispered. "Stop trying to insert yourself into my life through good deeds. Stop making me feel things I buried for a reason." Nathan's expression tightened, like her words cut deeper than she meant. He nodded slowly. "I'm not trying to make you feel anything," he said. "I'm trying to become someone who doesn't destroy what he touches." Ava turned away before her face betrayed her. She walked inside the community center, moving between tables and stacks of supplies with practiced efficiency. But her chest felt too tight, and every time she glanced toward the door, she saw him outside through the glass, still working, still quiet, still present. She hated presence. Presence was what she had begged for years ago. Presence was what he hadn't given, and now it was being offered like it was simple, like it didn't come with a price she'd already paid. As Ava checked inventory, a new voice drifted into the room, smooth, cheerful, slightly too loud. "Well, well," it said. "Look who crawled back." Ava's spine stiffened. She turned and saw Miranda Brooks standing in a designer coat that looked absurdly expensive for this town. Lipstick perfect, smile sharp. Miranda had been the kind of girl people whispered about. Beautiful, ambitious, always orbiting men with money and futures. She and Nathan had history. Ava knew that, because the town had made sure she knew. Miranda's gaze flicked from Ava to the supplies, then to the window where Nathan was visible outside. "He's really doing the whole redemption thing," she said with a laugh like it amused her. Ava's face remained calm, but her pulse spiked. "Why are you here, Miranda?" Ava asked, voice controlled. Miranda's smile widened. "Oh, sweetheart," she murmured, stepping closer. "I'm here because I heard my favorite Christmas story came back, Nathan the Runaway. I just wanted to see if you still fall for the same magic tricks." Ava's hands tightened around her clipboard. "This isn't about me," Ava said. Miranda tilted her head. "Isn't it?" she replied. "Because last time I checked, he didn't just leave town. He left you." Miranda's eyes glittered with cruelty, dressed as curiosity. "And men don't come back unless they want something." Ava's jaw clenched. "Maybe he wants to do the right thing," Ava said, though she didn't know if she believed it yet. Miranda laughed softly. "Oh, Ava, you still want to believe people change." Miranda leaned in, voice dropping into something almost intimate. "Let me save you from another Christmas heartbreak," she whispered. "Nathan doesn't come back for love. He comes back when he needs relief from his guilt, when he needs someone kind enough to let him pretend he's new." Ava's throat burned. She wanted to tell Miranda to leave. She wanted to throw her out. But Miranda's words hit the part of Ava that was already afraid. Afraid Nathan's presence was temporary, that his remorse had an expiration date. Outside, through the window, Nathan finally straightened from the last box, wiping snow from his hands. For a moment his eyes lifted, and he looked directly at Ava, as if he could feel her turmoil through the glass. Ava's breath caught, and she hated that too. Hated that her body still recognized him. Miranda's voice slid in like poison behind her. "Watch closely," she whispered. "He'll leave again. They always do." Ava held Nathan's gaze for a second longer than she should have, then turned away, fighting the same old war inside her. The desire to hope and the need to survive. That night, Ava locked the library doors later than usual. The town outside was a snow globe. Quiet streets, warm windows, lights blinking like stubborn little prayers. Inside, the building was dim except for the Christmas tree near the desk and the reading lamps glowing over empty tables. Ava moved through the aisles with a stack of books, pretending the familiar routine could steady her heartbeat. But Miranda's words clung to her like cold. He'll leave again. Ava hated how fear recognized its own language. When she returned to the desk, her eyes landed on the envelope Nathan had left there. It sat on the corner like it belonged, like it had been waiting years to exist. Ava stood still for a long moment, as if moving toward it would be stepping into a trap. She should throw it away. She should tear it up without reading. She should protect herself the way she'd learned to. But curiosity had teeth, and unanswered questions had haunted her for too long to pretend they didn't. Ava picked it up with 2 fingers, like it might burn. The paper was thick, the handwriting careful. Nathan's handwriting, but different, older, slower, less arrogant. Her name across the front looked almost reverent, as if he had written it with a hand that knew what it was to lose something sacred. Ava swallowed, then slid it into the top drawer of the desk instead of opening it. Not yet. Not tonight. She wasn't ready to let his truth enter her body. She forced herself to focus on the drive. She stacked blankets, organized the toys by age group, checked the list again and again until her eyes stung. But the more she tried to work, the more her mind betrayed her, throwing images at her like flashbacks she hadn't asked for. Nathan's face at the door. Nathan unloading boxes. Nathan looking at her through the window like he could still reach her. Ava's hands trembled and she pressed them flat on the desk until they steadied. Near closing, she pulled a battered binder from the cabinet under the counter. Christmas Drive Archives, the old coordinator had called it. It held donor lists, receipts, notes from past years, and envelopes of thank you letters written by children in shaky handwriting. Ava flipped through it, hoping the familiar would soothe her. Then a loose piece of paper slipped out and fluttered to the floor. Ava bent to pick it up and froze. It was an envelope, yellowed at the edges, unopened. No stamp, no postmark. Just a name written on the front in ink that had faded with time. Ava. Her breath caught, sharp and painful. She turned it over, heart pounding, and saw the date in the corner. Years ago. The winter he left. The last Christmas she waited by the window until her hope felt stupid. Ava's fingers shook as she stared at it, brain refusing to connect the moment. An envelope to her. That never arrived. Ava sat down hard in the chair behind the desk, the air suddenly too thin. She remembered that time like it lived inside her bones, how she checked her phone every few minutes, how she made excuses for him, how she told herself he was delayed, busy, overwhelmed, how she bought him a gift anyway and wrapped it carefully because she still believed love meant staying. She remembered the humiliation of the empty days after, the people's pity, the whispers, the silent judgment. Ava looked at the sealed envelope and felt something crack open inside her. She didn't open it right away. She stared at it like it was a door to a room she'd boarded up for survival. Outside, the wind pushed snow against the windows with soft persistence. Ava's hands hovered over the paper. Then, with a breath that shook, she slid her finger under the flap and tore it open. The sound was small, just paper ripping. But in Ava's chest, it sounded like time tearing. Inside was one sheet of folded paper. Ava unfolded it slowly, eyes scanning the familiar handwriting. Nathan's, younger, sharper, the letters more confident. Her throat tightened as she read the first line, because even the first line was wrong in the most painful way. It was tender. It was trying. It was present. Ava's eyes moved across the page and her heart began to race like it didn't know whether to hope or to fight. The letter was dated December 24th, days before he disappeared. Nathan had written about fear, about pressure, about making mistakes. He hadn't said he was leaving. He had said he wanted to talk. He had asked her to meet him at the old bridge after the choir rehearsal. He had written, "Please don't let other people's voices be louder than mine. Please let me tell you the truth." Ava's stomach twisted. She had never met him at the bridge. She had never seen this letter. And yet, the town had told her he left without a word. Ava's eyes blurred. Ava read the letter again, slower, hunting for the part where he betrayed her. But it wasn't there. Not in the way she remembered. There was no cold dismissal, no arrogance, Only a man who sounded scared and desperate to explain something before it was too late. Ava felt anger flare, hot and sharp, because anger was easier than sorrow. If this letter had existed, why had she suffered silence? Why had she been made to feel disposable? Who had kept this from her? The answer came before she wanted it. Miranda's face flashed in her mind. Then another memory. Years ago, of walking into the post office and seeing Miranda behind the counter, smiling sweetly as she handed out packages. Miranda's family had owned the post office then. Ava's pulse spiked. Her fingers clenched around the paper so tightly it crumpled. It wasn't proof yet, but the coincidence felt too sharp to ignore. Ava stared at the letter and realized something terrifying. The story she had survived might not be the full story. A knock sounded at the library door. Ava startled, heart leaping into her throat. The lights outside were dim, the town quiet. It was late. She folded the letter quickly, shoved it into the binder, and moved toward the entrance, keeping her breathing steady. Through the glass, she saw Nathan's silhouette snow dusting his shoulders again. Ava's hand hovered over the lock, and for a moment she almost didn't open it. But the question inside her had grown teeth. She unlocked the door. Nathan stepped in carefully, as if he didn't want to disturb the air. He held a bag in his hand. "I'm not here to invade," he said softly. He lifted the bag slightly. "Mrs. Delaney said you've been here all day. You didn't eat, so I brought soup from the diner." Ava stared at the bag like it was another trap. She should have said no. She should have sent him away. But her mind was fixed on the old letter burning in the binder behind her. "Why did you leave?" she asked suddenly, voice too direct to be casual. Nathan's face tightened. He looked like he'd been punched. "I left because I was a coward," he said, swallowing hard. Ava shook her head, stepping closer, eyes sharp. "No," she whispered. "Why did you leave without telling me? Why didn't you meet me? Why didn't you send something, anything?" Nathan blinked, confusion flickering across his expression. "I did," he said slowly. Ava froze. Nathan's voice dropped. "I wrote you a letter. I brought it to the post office myself." The room went painfully still. Ava's breath caught, and her skin went cold. "You did?" she asked, voice cracking despite her effort. Nathan nodded once. "I did," he said. "I asked you to meet me. I needed to explain what was happening. His eyes darkened, haunted. "I needed to tell you I was being pushed into something I couldn't fight alone." Ava's heart pounded so hard it hurt. She turned slightly, eyes flicking toward the binder cabinet like it was a witness. "I never got it," she said, barely audible. Nathan's face drained. "What?" he whispered. Ava swallowed, words shaking loose. "I never got your letter," she repeated. "I never got anything." Nathan stared at her as if the floor had vanished beneath him. The shame on his face changed into something else. Anger, disbelief, a kind of grief sharpened by realization. "Someone," he began, voice rough. He stopped, clenched his jaw, then looked at her with a tremor of pain. "Ava, I swear to you, I didn't mean to leave you in silence." Ava's eyes burned, tears threatening, but she refused to let them fall. Not yet. Not in front of him. She stepped back, folding her arms as if she could hold herself together. "Then tell me the truth," she said, voice low, trembling with controlled fire. "All of it. Who pushed you? What you were running from? Why you came back now?" Nathan swallowed, eyes fixed on hers like he was standing on the edge of a cliff. "Because I'm done hiding," he said. "And because Christmas is the last place I can lie." He took a breath, deep, heavy. "But the truth is going to hurt." The truth didn't come all at once. It came in fragments like shattered glass reflecting light in cruel little pieces. Nathan sat across from Ava at the library desk, the soup growing cold between them, and his hands trembled slightly as if his body remembered the fear before his mind could name it. Outside, the snow kept falling, soft and indifferent. Inside, Ava's heart beat like a warning. She had asked for the truth, but now that it was near, she realized truth wasn't comfort. Truth was a storm. Nathan's eyes stayed on the tabletop for a long moment. That winter, he began, voice low, my father was drowning. Ava's brows furrowed. She hadn't known Nathan's father well, only the man's reputation. Proud, strict, respected in public, complicated in private. Nathan swallowed. Not financially, he clarified, almost bitter. He was drowning in shame, in debt, in something he refused to let the town see. Nathan's jaw clenched. And he used me to keep the image intact. Ava's chest tightened. She hated how easily she could picture it. Families with reputations, sons with burdens. Nathan lifted his gaze to Ava, and it looked like he was bracing for impact. He made a deal, Nathan said. With Miranda's family. Ava's blood ran cold. Nathan continued, voice rougher now. They covered what would have destroyed my father publicly. In exchange, they wanted me. Ava's breath caught. Wanted you. She repeated, disgust curling in her stomach. Nathan nodded once, shame burning his face. Miranda wanted the story, he said. The status, the future. And her father wanted control. Ava's throat tightened so hard it hurt. So you left, she said slowly, anger rising like heat. Nathan flinched at her tone, but he didn't look away. I didn't leave because I stopped loving you, he said. I left because I was terrified. His hands clenched into fists, then released. They threatened my father. They threatened to ruin him. They told me they'd ruin you too. Spread things, twist things, make you the town's entertainment. Ava stared at him, stunned by how familiar that sounded. She'd lived it. The whispers, the humiliation, the loneliness. You're saying... Ava's voice shook despite her effort. You're saying Miranda's family? Nathan nodded, eyes haunted. I wrote you, he said. I tried to meet you. But the night I brought the letter to the post office, Miranda was there. Ava's chest tightened, the old letter burning in her mind like proof and betrayal at once. Nathan swallowed. She smiled, he said, bitterness flashing. She told me she'd make sure you got it. He let out a humorless breath. And I believed her, because I was desperate and stupid. Ava pushed back from the desk as if the chair suddenly couldn't hold her. Rage and grief collided inside her, making her vision blur. So while I was being crushed, Ava said, voice trembling, she was the one. Nathan's jaw clenched. I'm not saying I'm innocent. He cut in quickly. I'm not. I still left. I still chose fear. I still didn't fight hard enough for you. He looked at Ava like the pain was clawing at him. But you deserved the truth. You deserved the chance to decide with full light. Ava's eyes burned. Full light. She'd been given darkness. The next day, the town's Christmas festival began early. Carolers on Main Street, booths selling hot cocoa, a small stage set near the giant tree for speeches and announcements. Ava had planned to be there for the charity drive kickoff because her life was built on showing up no matter what her heart was doing. She told herself she could do it. She told herself she could stand in public without looking broken. She put on a warm coat, tied her scarf tight, and practiced a smile in the mirror that didn't reach her eyes. When Ava arrived, the square was already crowded, families with children, older couples holding hands, teenagers laughing under strings of lights. The air smelled like cinnamon and pine and fried dough. It should have felt magical. Instead, it felt like standing on a stage with a spotlight pointed directly at her chest. People looked at her a little too long. The town had always loved a story, and Ava had always been a story. The girl he left, the woman who survived, the woman who never stopped giving. Ava moved toward the donation booth, greeting volunteers, checking lists, forcing her hands to stay busy. Then she heard it, the shift in the crowd's tone, the whisper that traveled like wildfire. She didn't need to turn around to know. Her body knew before her eyes confirmed it. Nathan was there. He stood at the edge of the square, half in shadow near the tree, like a man who didn't know where he belonged. He looked out of place in the lights, like guilt wearing a coat. Ava's pulse spiked. She wanted to disappear, but the festival didn't pause for her pain. The mayor climbed onto the stage, microphone crackling. "Welcome, everyone," he called. Cheers rose. Ava swallowed and forced her attention forward. The mayor spoke about community. about generosity, about hope. Then he gestured toward the charity drive booth. "And a special thanks to Ava Harper," he said warmly. Applause erupted. Ava stepped up with a practiced smile, waving briefly. But her skin felt too tight, like applause could bruise. Then the mayor added something that made Ava's stomach drop. "And a surprise donor stepped forward this year," he said, grinning. "Someone who wanted to remain anonymous, but I was told I could share that he's back in town for the holidays." Murmurs rose. Ava's breath caught. She turned, eyes scanning the crowd, and found Nathan's face tense, alarmed, as if he hadn't asked for this either. Ava's heart hammered. This was not the time. This was not safe. Public wounds didn't heal under Christmas lights. Before the mayor could continue, a voice cut through the crowd, bright, sharp, unmistakably confident. "Oh, please," Miranda called, stepping forward like she owned the square. Heads turned. Ava's blood ran cold. Miranda wore a red coat, hair perfect, smile glittering. She looked like a Christmas ornament. Beautiful, hollow, sharp. "We're really doing this?" Miranda said with a laugh. "We're really pretending Nathan is some kind of miracle now." The crowd hushed. Ava's lungs felt too small. Nathan's shoulders stiffened. Miranda continued, voice loud enough for everyone. "Let's not forget," she said sweetly. "Nathan isn't here because of charity. He's here because he always comes back when he wants something." Her gaze flicked to Ava like a blade. "Isn't that right, Ava?" Ava's jaw clenched, humiliation rising hot in her chest. The town watched. The town listened. The town loved this part. Ava had survived this once. She refused to be crushed again. Ava stepped forward, voice steady despite the tremor inside her. "This festival is about the drive," Ava said firmly. "Not your opinions." Miranda smiled wider. "Oh, honey," she purred. "I'm just helping the town remember what you clearly forgot." Ava's hands clenched into fists. "I haven't forgotten anything," Ava replied, eyes flashing. Miranda tilted her head. "Then tell them," she said, voice dripping with false innocence. "Tell them how he left you before Christmas and made you the town's pity story." A sound like a gasp moved through the crowd. Ava's face burned. She felt the old shame trying to crawl back into her throat, the old helplessness trying to make her small. Then Nathan moved. Not dramatically, not heroically, just forward. He walked up beside Ava, close enough that she could feel warmth through his coat, and he faced Miranda with calm, controlled steadiness. "Stop," he said, voice low but firm. The single word cut the air clean. Miranda's smile flickered. "Or what?" she challenged. Nathan didn't raise his voice. He didn't try to charm the crowd. He didn't try to soften the truth. He simply looked at Miranda and said, "Or I'll tell them what you did." The square went silent. Miranda's eyes widened for half a second, then narrowed, anger flashing. "You wouldn't," she hissed. Nathan's gaze didn't move. "I would," he said. Then he turned slightly toward the crowd, voice steady. "Ava didn't deserve what happened," he said clearly. And she didn't deserve the silence she was left with. Ava's breath caught, shock and fear colliding. Miranda stepped closer, voice sharp, panicked beneath the polish. "Nathan, don't you dare," she snapped. But her confidence had cracks now. Nathan's jaw tightened. "You stole her truth," he said, loud enough for people to hear. "You kept my letter from her." A wave of murmurs rippled through the crowd. Ava's stomach dropped. Nathan's voice didn't falter. "You let the town believe I disappeared without a word," he continued. "And you watched Ava carry the shame alone." Ava's throat burned. This was public, this was dangerous. But Nathan's presence beside her felt like something she had never received. Protection without possession. The crowd erupted into whispers, heads turning, questions forming like storms. Miranda's face went pale and she forced a laugh that sounded too thin. "That's insane," she snapped. "He's lying." Ava stood frozen, heart pounding, eyes locked on Nathan. Part of her wanted to stop him, because public scandal would break the drive, would break the town. Another part of her wanted to hear every word. because she was tired of living in darkness. Nathan turned to Ava then, voice softer only for her. "I told you the truth would hurt," he murmured, "but I won't let you carry it alone anymore." And for the first time in years, Ava didn't feel alone in the spotlight. She felt seen. The festival didn't end with carols. It ended with a fracture. By the time Ava returned to the library that evening, the town's Christmas lights felt less like warmth and more like eyes. Watching, judging, choosing sides. The whispers followed her down Main Street like a shadow that had learned her name. Ava kept her head high anyway because pride was sometimes the only shield left. Inside, the library smelled like pine and paper and something sharper, the metallic sting of truth exposed in public. Nathan didn't follow her in. Not right away. He lingered outside the square after she left, facing questions like stones thrown from smiling mouths. People approached him, some curious, some angry, some eager to be part of the newest story. Did she know? Is it true? Are you back to stay? The worst question came from a man Nathan had once called a friend. So you're blaming Miranda now to clean your conscience? Nathan's jaw tightened, but he didn't fight back with anger. He just nodded slowly, like he deserved suspicion. "I'm not asking you to believe me," he said. "I'm asking you to remember who carried the shame." That night, Ava stood alone in the library aisle, staring at the children's ornaments. She could still hear Nathan's voice in the square, steady, unflinching, willing to take heat to protect her truth. It should have felt like justice. Instead, it felt like grief, because justice didn't give her back the years she lost to silence. Justice didn't erase the nights she cried quietly so no one would hear. Ava touched one ornament, a paper star labeled Hope, and her throat tightened. Hope was the one thing she feared most. The next morning, the first consequence hit like a door slammed in Nathan's face. The motel owner, a man who'd smiled at Nathan's father for years, told him there were no rooms available. Nathan stood in the lobby, suitcase at his feet, listening to the lie delivered politely. "It's Christmas season," the owner said, eyes avoiding his. "You understand?" Nathan nodded. "I understand," he answered, voice calm. He picked up his suitcase and left without arguing, because rejection was a language he'd earned. By noon, another consequence arrived. The bank manager, who'd once treated Nathan like royalty, refused to process a transfer Nathan had arranged for the Christmas drive. "We need verification," the manager said stiffly. "This is a small town. People are concerned." Nathan felt his chest tighten, anger rising, but he swallowed it down. "Verify it," he said simply. "Call whoever you need." The manager's eyes narrowed. "Why do you even care?" Nathan's voice came out low. "Because someone has to." Ava heard about it from Mrs. Delaney, who came into the library with a stack of flyers and a worried crease between her brows. "Honey," she said gently, "people are talking. They're saying Nathan's trying to buy forgiveness. They're saying the drive will be stained if we accept help from him." Ava's hands tightened around the flyers. Stained. Like kindness could be contaminated by the wrong person. Ava swallowed hard. "We can't afford pride," Ava said quietly. "But we can't afford scandal either." Mrs. Delaney sighed. "I know." By afternoon, the town had split the way it always did when truth threatened comfort. Some believed Nathan. Some believed Miranda. Most believed whatever version made them feel less guilty for how they'd treated Ava years ago. It was easier to say, "He's lying," than to admit they had helped bury Ava under whispers. Ava walked through the library with a tight jaw, listening to people speak in careful tones. "Ava, we're just worried about you," they said. Ava smiled without warmth. "Then worry about the families who need coats," she replied. Nathan didn't show up at the library that day. Ava told herself she was relieved. She told herself she didn't want him near her space. But as evening came, she found herself looking toward the window more than once, searching the snow-dusted sidewalk as if presence had become a habit she hadn't agreed to. She hated that her body remembered him faster than her mind could reject him. She hated that part of her wondered if he was okay. That part of her was the same part that once waited by the window with a gift. When he finally appeared, it wasn't with a dramatic entrance. It was with a shovel. Ava saw him through the glass, clearing snow from the library steps and the walkway with slow, steady movements. No audience, no applause, just work. Ava stared, breath catching. For a moment, she almost laughed at the absurdity. The man who once fled responsibility now shoveling snow like it was penance. Ava grabbed her coat and walked outside before she could stop herself. "What are you doing?" Ava asked, voice sharper than her confusion. Nathan paused, leaning on the shovel, breath visible. He looked tired, truly tired, the kind of tired that lived under the eyes and in the shoulders. "Keeping the entrance clear," he said simply. Ava's jaw clenched. "You don't have to do that." Nathan nodded once. "I know," he replied, "but I can." Ava stared at him, anger flickering. "Why?" she demanded. "Why are you still here?" Nathan's gaze met hers, steady and unromantic. "Because leaving is what I do when things get hard," he said quietly. "And I hate that man." His words hit the air like a confession with no armor. Ava swallowed. "So you're punishing yourself," she said. Nathan shook his head. "No," he replied. "I'm changing myself." He resumed shoveling, as if his actions had to speak louder than words. Ava watched the snow curl away under the shovel and felt her chest tighten with something she didn't want to name. "People don't change because of Christmas lights," Ava said suddenly, voice low. Nathan paused again, looking up slowly. "No," he agreed. "They change because they're finally tired of being monsters." Ava flinched at the word. Monster. She had never called him that, even when she should have. She had called him a loss, a mistake, a heartbreak. But monster? Monster meant he had intended harm. Ava's throat burned. "Did you intend it?" she asked softly, the question slipping out before she could stop it. Nathan's face tightened, pain crossing it like a shadow. "I intended to save myself," he admitted. "And I didn't care enough about what it would do to you." He swallowed hard. "That's the ugliest truth." Ava's eyes stung. The honesty hurt more than excuses. Because excuses were easy to reject, truth forced her to feel. Ava looked away, blinking hard. "I don't know what to do with you," she whispered, hate and sorrow tangled together. Nathan's voice came soft. "You don't have to do anything." That night, Miranda struck back. Ava found out when a volunteer rushed into the library with a phone in her hand, face pale. "Ava, look," she said, shoving the screen toward her. It was a post, Miranda's account, polished and dramatic. A photo from the festival, Nathan beside Ava, the caption dripping with insinuation. "Beware of wolves in Christmas clothing. Some men will destroy you twice." The comments were already exploding. Ava's stomach dropped. People were tagging the library, the drive, spreading the venom like it was entertainment. Ava felt the old panic rise, familiar and suffocating. This was what she had survived before, the public narrative twisting her into a lesson for everyone else. Her hands trembled as she scrolled. He's manipulating her. She's weak. He'll leave again. Ava's chest tightened until breathing hurt. Then, without warning, Nathan stepped into the library. Snow clung to his coat. His eyes went straight to Ava's face and something in him hardened. Not anger, but resolve. "Show me," he said quietly. Ava didn't want to. She didn't want him to see the cruelty, because cruelty had always been his shadow too. But she handed him the phone anyway. Nathan read the post, jaw tightening, eyes darkening with something sharp. Ava watched him, bracing for rage. Instead, he exhaled slowly, steadying himself. "She wants a spectacle," he said. Ava swallowed. "And the drive can't survive a spectacle," she whispered. Nathan nodded, understanding immediate. "Then I'll take it away from the drive," he said simply. Ava stared. "What does that mean?" she asked, voice tense. Nathan's eyes lifted to hers, steady, serious. "It means I'll step back publicly," he said. "I'll keep helping, but quietly. I'll remove my name from anything connected to you or the drive." Ava's throat tightened. "Why would you do that?" she asked, suspicious, defensive. Nathan's answer came without hesitation. "Because I already made you carry my consequences once," he said. "I won't do it again." The words hit Ava like a hand steadying her when she didn't realize she was shaking. For a moment she couldn't speak. Nathan handed the phone back gently, then reached into his coat pocket and pulled out a folded document. "I'm signing this tonight," he said. "The donation transfer. It'll be processed through a third party so the town can't reject it out of spite." Ava's eyes widened. Nathan's voice lowered, almost a vow. "They can hate me," he said, "but they won't take Christmas away from the people who need it." Ava's chest tightened with something unfamiliar, safety brushing her heart like a cautious hand. And it terrified her more than hatred ever had. The snowstorm arrived like a decision the sky had been holding back. By late afternoon, the flakes thickened into sheets. The wind howled down Main Street, and the town's Christmas lights blurred behind a curtain of white. The weather alert pinged phones with a harsh, modern sound that didn't belong in a place that still felt like old stories. Ava stood at the library window watching the world disappear. The drive was in 2 days. Roads were closing. Deliveries would be delayed. And her nerves, already stretched, felt like they could snap with one more gust. She should have gone home early. Everyone had told her to. Mrs. Delaney had practically begged. But Ava couldn't leave the donations unsecured, couldn't leave the lists unfinished, couldn't leave the building unprepared if families came tomorrow and needed help. Responsibility lived in her bones like faith. So she stayed. She moved shelves away from drafty windows, covered boxes with plastic sheets, and checked the generator instructions twice. She didn't realize how alone she was until the library lights flickered once, then twice, then went out completely. Silence rushed in like water. The heater died. The hum of electricity vanished. For a heartbeat, Ava just stood there, breath caught, surrounded by darkness and the faint glow of the Christmas tree's battery lights near the desk. Outside, the storm pressed against the windows like an animal. Ava's pulse jumped. She grabbed her phone flashlight and moved quickly to the breaker panel, but she already knew it wasn't inside. This was the town grid. This was bigger than her. That realization always terrified her. There were things she couldn't fix by working harder. A knock hit the door, hard, urgent, nearly swallowed by the wind. Ava froze. Her phone light shook slightly in her hand. Another knock. She moved toward the entrance, heart pounding, and looked through the glass. Nathan stood there, snow plastered to his coat, hair damp, face tense. He raised a hand to shield his eyes from her flashlight beam. Ava hesitated, every instinct yelling no, but outside was a storm, and storms didn't care about boundaries. She unlocked the door and pulled it open, wind slicing into the room like a knife. Nathan stepped inside quickly, pushing the door shut behind him. "You shouldn't be here," Ava snapped, more fear than anger. Nathan's breath came fast, visible in the cold air. "Neither should you," he replied. Ava's jaw tightened. "The power's out," she said sharply, as if he didn't know. Nathan nodded, eyes scanning the dim room. "I know," he said. "That's why I came." Ava folded her arms, trying to control the tremor in her body that had nothing to do with cold. "You came because you're worried," she said, voice flat, distrust hiding something softer. Nathan's gaze met hers. Steady. "Yes," he admitted. Ava's chest tightened. She hated the simplicity. Worry was intimate. Worry belonged to people who had the right to care. Nathan didn't. And yet he stood here, soaked with snow, acting like he would rather face the storm than let her be alone in the dark. Nathan walked toward the desk slowly, respectful of space. "Do you have a generator?" he asked. Ava nodded once. "A small one," she replied. "For emergencies." Nathan's jaw clenched. "This counts," he said. Ava rolled her eyes, but her hands were already moving because even in anger she functioned. She led him to the back storage room, phone light bouncing off stacked boxes and old shelves. The air smelled like cardboard and dust. Ava found the generator, her fingers numb, and Nathan took it from her hands without argument. They worked in tense silence. Nathan carried the generator outside under the awning, started it with practiced movements like he'd learned survival the hard way. Ava ran extension cords inside, her breath visible now in the growing cold. When the lights flickered back on, dim but present, Relief washed through her body so fast she nearly swayed. Nathan stepped in, snow melting off him in small puddles on the floor. He didn't look triumphant. He just looked relieved, like saving her from the dark mattered more than pride. Ava wrapped her arms around herself, trying to ignore how the warmth of the faint lights made the room feel suddenly intimate. The storm raged outside, sealing them in like a locked chapter. "You should leave," Ava said, but the words came out weaker now. Nathan shook his head once. "The roads are closing," he said, "and the storm's getting worse." Ava's eyes narrowed. "So you'll just—" She gestured vaguely. Nathan's answer was quiet. "I'll stay here, in the lobby. Far from you, if that's what you need." Ava didn't trust herself to respond. She busied herself checking the boxes again, retying plastic sheets, making lists she didn't need to make. Nathan moved through the room silently, adjusting cords, checking windows, placing extra blankets near the desk, as if preparing for a long night. Ava watched him from the corner of her eye and hated that his presence felt steady, the kind of steady she had once begged for, the kind of steady she'd trained herself not to need. Hours passed. The generator hummed softly. The storm grew louder. At some point, Ava sat behind the desk, exhausted, pencil slipping from her fingers. The library felt like a world cut off from time. Just dim lights, snow pounding the windows, and two people trapped with a past neither could outrun. Nathan sat in a chair across the room, hands clasped, staring at the floor like he was praying without words. Ava's chest tightened. "You said you were being pushed," she said suddenly, voice small in the quiet. "Tell me." Nathan's head lifted slowly. His eyes looked darker in the dim light, haunted by something he hadn't forgiven himself for. "My father wasn't the only one drowning," he said softly. "I was." Ava's jaw tightened. "So you left me to save yourself," she said. And it wasn't accusation. It was grief turning into language. Nathan flinched. "Yes," he whispered. Ava's throat burned. "Then why come back now?" she asked, voice trembling. Nathan swallowed. "Because saving myself cost me my soul." Ava stared at him, breath shallow. Nathan's voice grew rough. "Miranda's father didn't just want me married," he said. "He wanted control over my father's business assets. He wanted leverage." Nathan's hands clenched. "They cornered me. They told me if I didn't play along, they'd ruin my father and you." Ava's heart pounded. "So you chose them," Ava whispered. Nathan shook his head slowly. "I chose escape," he said. "I ran before they could use me." He looked up, eyes wet. "But running still destroyed you." Ava's throat tightened until it hurt to swallow. "Do you know what it felt like?" she asked, voice breaking despite her effort. "To be left with nothing but people's stories about why you abandoned me?" Nathan's eyes glistened. "Yes," he said hoarsely. "I know because I've replayed it every night for years." Ava's laugh came out strangled. "Replay doesn't rebuild," she whispered. Nathan nodded, pain carving his features. "I know," he said. "That's why I'm here. To rebuild, brick by brick, without expecting you to join the construction." Ava blinked hard, tears finally threatening. She hated tears. Tears made people think she needed saving. She didn't. She needed honesty. "And the letter?" she asked, voice tight. "You swear you wrote it?" Nathan's answer was immediate. "I swear," he said, eyes fixed on hers like it was sacred. Ava's chest tightened again. "Then Miranda—" Ava couldn't finish. Nathan's jaw clenched. "She enjoyed it," he said bitterly. "She enjoyed watching you carry the shame while she kept the truth in her pocket." Silence fell again, heavy and aching. Ava's fingers curled around the edge of the desk. The truth hurt the way a bone hurts when it finally sets straight. Painful. Necessary. Ava stared at Nathan, and for the first time she saw something beyond regret. Humility. Not the kind that begs for pity, the kind that kneels inside and says, "I was wrong." Ava swallowed, voice trembling. "Why didn't you fight?" she asked, the question that had haunted her for years. Nathan's eyes closed for a second. "Because I didn't believe I was strong enough to lose everything." Ava's chest tightened at the honesty. "And now?" she whispered. Nathan opened his eyes and something steady lived there. "Now I'm already losing," he said. "I lost you. I lost my pride. I lost my reputation." He took a breath. "So there's nothing left to protect except what matters." Ava's throat burned. "What matters?" she asked, voice barely there. Nathan looked at her like a confession. "Doing the right thing, even if it kills the old me." Before Ava could answer, the phone on the desk rang, an ugly, sharp sound in the soft hum of the generator. Ava flinched, then grabbed it quickly. "Hello?" she said, voice tense. A voice crackled on the line. Mrs. Delaney panicked. "Ava," she said, breathless. "We have a problem. The truck with the toys, it slid off the road near the old bridge. The driver's okay, but the boxes, Ava, they're getting soaked. If we don't move them now, the kids won't have anything." Ava's heart slammed against her ribs. She looked at Nathan, fear and determination colliding. Nathan was already standing. "Tell me where," he said quietly. And in that moment, Ava realized the storm wasn't the test. The test was what he would do next. Ava didn't hesitate the way she wanted to. Fear tried to pull her backward, tried to whisper that storms were not her responsibility, that she could call someone else, that she could stay safe in the dim warmth of the library. But the words on Mrs. Delaney's voice had carved into her chest. "The boxes are getting soaked. The kids won't have anything." Ava grabbed her coat, gloves, and a thick blanket from the donation pile. Nathan was already moving, pulling on his own coat with quick, purposeful motions. "Keys?" he asked. Ava tossed them without thinking. The wind hit them the moment they opened the door, violent and sharp. Snow stung Ava's face like tiny needles. The streetlights had become halos of white blur. Nathan led with the flashlight, guiding them toward his car, shoulders braced against the storm. Ava's fingers were numb before they even reached the vehicle. She climbed in, heart hammering, while Nathan scraped ice from the windshield with furious efficiency. The engine roared to life as if it too understood urgency. Ava's breath shook in her chest. "The old bridge," she said, voice tight. "That's where it happened." Driving through a storm in a small town felt like driving through memory. The road out of Main Street curved past dark houses, past the diner sign blinking faintly, past the church steeple vanishing into snow. Ava clutched the door handle, watching the world tilt into white. Nathan's hands were steady on the wheel, jaw clenched, eyes sharp. "You should have called the police," Ava said, more out of instinct than logic. Nathan didn't look at her. "They won't get there fast enough," he replied. Ava swallowed. "And if we don't either," she didn't finish. The unfinished sentence was too painful. The closer they got to the bridge, the worse the road became. Snowdrifts had formed uneven ridges, and the car slid once, making Ava's heart jump into her throat. Nathan corrected calmly, breathing controlled as if he refused to let panic touch his hands. Ava glanced at him and hated what she felt. Not trust, not yet, but relief. The kind of relief that came when someone else carried weight with you. It was dangerous. It was unfair. But it was real. They saw the truck before they saw the driver. Headlights tilted at an angle, half buried in snow near the edge of the old bridge. The vehicle had slid sideways into a shallow ditch, front wheel stuck, cargo doors slightly open. Boxes were scattered like broken promises, cardboard soaking as snow melted into them. Ava's chest tightened. This wasn't just a delivery. This was Christmas for families who had nothing. This was a town's hope sitting in the cold, getting ruined by weather that didn't care. Nathan parked as close as he could and jumped out first. The wind nearly knocked him sideways. Ava followed, boots sinking into snow, fighting to keep balance. The driver, young, shivering, face red from cold, stood near the truck, phone in hand. "Thank God," he shouted when he saw them. "I called, but—" Ava waved him off, already moving toward the cargo. Nathan's flashlight cut through the storm. "How many boxes?" Nathan asked. "Most of them," the driver yelled back. "They're soaked. I don't know what to do." Ava reached for a box and felt the cardboard collapse slightly under her gloves. Panic surged. She could almost see it. Kids opening nothing on Christmas morning. Families smiling through disappointment like it didn't matter. Ava swallowed hard, forcing herself to breathe. "We move them," she said, voice fierce. "Now." Nathan nodded once. No debate, no excuses, just action. He threw open the cargo door wider, snow pouring in like a threat. Ava flinched. Nathan didn't. He climbed into the truck bed, body braced, pulling boxes toward the door as fast as he could. They worked like it was war. Ava dragged boxes into the back seat, into the trunk, covering them with blankets. Nathan carried 2 at a time, his coat already soaked through, snow clinging to his hair. The driver tried to help, hands shaking, but Nathan barked, "Stay back. You're freezing." Ava stared at Nathan, surprised by the authority in his voice. Not arrogant, protective. The kind of command that came from caring more about others than about being liked. Ava's chest ached with something she couldn't name. Then the worst sound came. A creak, deep and ugly from the bridge. Ava froze, heart slamming. The storm had loaded the old structure with weight, and the truck's angle pressed against the edge. The driver's eyes widened. "Is it?" he began, but his voice vanished under the wind. Nathan's head snapped up, scanning the bridge supports. Ava's pulse screamed. "Nathan," she shouted, voice sharp with fear, "get out of there." Nathan hesitated for half a second, just half, then jumped down, landing hard in snow. Ava grabbed his arm, yanking him back instinctively. "Are you insane?" she hissed, eyes wide, breath jagged. Nathan's face was tight, snow melting on his lashes. "We're not done," he said. Ava's grip tightened. "We're done if that bridge collapses," she snapped. Nathan looked toward the remaining boxes, jaw clenched. "Those are kids' gifts," he said, voice rough. Ava swallowed hard. "And those kids need you alive," she fired back, the words slipping out before she could stop them. She froze. Nathan stared at her as if she'd just spoken something sacred. For a moment, the storm seemed to pause, like the world wanted to hear what he would do with that sentence. Ava's chest tightened in horror at herself. She had revealed care. She had revealed fear for him. She had given him a thread. Nathan's expression softened, but he didn't reach for her hand or try to claim the moment. He nodded slowly, as if accepting the gift without taking advantage of it. "Okay," he said quietly. "Then we do this smart." He turned to the driver. "Can you call a tow again? Tell them it's urgent. Tell them the bridge is unstable." The driver nodded frantically. Dialing. Nathan grabbed a rope from the truck's side compartment, hands moving fast. Ava watched, adrenaline pounding. "What are you doing?" she asked. Nathan's voice was calm, focused. "We're not risking the bridge," he said. He tied the rope around the remaining stack of boxes still inside the cargo area, fastening it to the truck's frame. "We pull from the safe side," he explained, gesturing to the ditch side away from the bridge edge. "You pull with me." We drag them out without stepping inside. Ava's mind raced. It wasn't a perfect solution, but it was safer. It was thoughtful. That was what stunned her most. Old Nathan would have rushed in to prove something, to look brave, to feel like a hero. This Nathan didn't care about looking brave. He cared about doing it right. Ava grabbed the rope, planted her feet, and nodded once. "On 3, Nathan said. 1, 2, 3. They pulled together, muscles straining, boots sliding. The boxes shifted, dragged toward the door, scraping against metal. They pulled again and again, breath burning, snow stinging their faces. The rope cut into Ava's gloves. Her arm shook. Nathan's shoulders flexed with effort, coat heavy with wet. Finally, the boxes slid free, tumbling into the snow on the safe side. Ava gasped, relief punching through fear. Nathan moved quickly, covering the boxes with a tarp, then lifting them into the car. Ava's hands were numb, but she kept moving, because stopping would mean feeling everything, and she couldn't afford that yet. When the last box was secured, Ava leaned against the car for a second, breathing hard, eyes squeezed shut. The storm roared around them. Nathan stood close, too close, but he didn't touch her. He just held the tarp down, shielding the boxes, shielding the mission, shielding her work. Ava opened her eyes and looked at him through snow. His face was flushed from cold, hair wet, eyes intense and honest. In that moment, He didn't look like a man trying to be forgiven. He looked like a man trying to be worthy, whether forgiveness came or not. The tow truck lights appeared in the distance like a miracle, slow, cautious, flashing through the white. The driver exhaled a shaky laugh of relief. Ava watched Nathan speak to the tow operator, voice firm, making sure the driver was safe, making sure the remaining cargo wouldn't be lost. Ava's chest tightened with a strange, unfamiliar ache. Gratitude. She hated gratitude. Gratitude made you feel like you owed someone. But this wasn't debt. This felt like something else, like witnessing a man choosing differently under pressure. On the drive back, the car was silent except for the wipers fighting snow. Ava stared out the window, mind spinning. Miranda's warning echoed in her head. He'll leave again. But tonight, Nathan had chosen danger and responsibility over escape. He had listened when Ava said stop. He had adjusted. He had cared more about safety than pride. Ava's throat tightened. She wanted to ask him, "Is this real?" She wanted to ask, "How long will it last?" But fear kept her mouth closed. When they reached the library, Nathan carried the last boxes inside, shoulders shaking from cold and exhaustion. Ava watched him set them down gently, like they were sacred. He looked at her then, voice quiet. "You were right," he said. Ava blinked. "About what?" she asked, cautious. Nathan's eyes held hers, steady. "The kids need me alive," he said simply. "And you shouldn't have to do this alone." Ava's chest tightened, breath catching. Outside, the storm still raged. Inside, something had shifted, small, terrifying, hopeful. And Ava realized the real test wasn't whether Nathan could save Christmas. It was whether she could survive letting her heart believe in change. Christmas Eve arrived with a sky the color of steel and snow that fell softer, almost reverent, as if the storm had spent its rage and left behind a quiet invitation. The town square glowed. Strings of warm lights looped between buildings, wreaths hung on every door, and the giant tree stood tall like a promise the town needed to believe again. Ava walked into the square with her clipboard tucked against her chest, breath steady, posture strong. She wore a coat that made her look composed, but her heart felt fragile beneath it. Tonight was the drive. Tonight was the test. The booths were set. The hot cocoa station steamed. The donation tables were lined with toys saved from the storm, blankets folded like comfort, canned goods stacked like small victories. Families gathered slowly, cautious at first, then with growing warmth as the music began. Children ran with rosy cheeks and mittens too big for their hands. Ava smiled at them, and the smile was real, because this was why she fought. Not for pride, not for a perfect image, for moments like this, where people who had nothing could still feel seen. But Ava could feel the town's other story running underneath the festival like an underground current. People looked at her and then looked away. Some smiled too brightly, as if overcompensating. Some whispered behind scarves. Some watched the edges of the crowd like they were waiting for a scene. Ava refused to feed it. She moved from table to table, checking lists, giving volunteers instructions, greeting families with calm authority. This was her world, her work, her light, and she wouldn't let anyone stain it, not even the past wearing Nathan's face. Nathan wasn't at the center. He kept his distance the way he promised. Ava noticed him anyway because her eyes had learned where he stood, always at the edge, near the shadows, carrying boxes, adjusting a tarp, lifting a child's dropped mitten and handing it back without a word. No grand gestures, no announcements, just presence that didn't demand attention. It should have irritated her. Instead, it made something soften in her chest, like a knot loosening without her permission. Ava caught Mrs. Delaney's eye across the booth, and the older woman gave her a small, meaningful look as if to say, "He's really doing it." Ava looked away quickly. She didn't want to be influenced by anyone's hope. Hope was a dangerous drug in a town that loved redemption stories more than real accountability. Ava knew that. She had survived being someone else's cautionary tale. She wouldn't become someone else's inspirational poster now. Not without truth, not without boundaries, not without time. Near the stage, the mayor prepared to speak again. microphone crackling against the cold. Ava felt her shoulders tighten. Public attention always carried risk. She watched volunteers arrange the last donation bags, watched children point at the tree lights like they were stars. She took a slow breath. Keep it about the drive, she told herself. Keep it about the people. But then she saw Miranda arrive, stepping into the square like a flame dressed in red. Perfect hair, perfect lipstick, perfect smile that didn't touch her eyes. Miranda moved through the crowd with practiced ease, greeting people, laughing, laying charm like glitter over tension. Ava's stomach tightened. The woman was a storm in human form, beautiful, destructive, always searching for a place to strike. Miranda's gaze flicked toward Ava, then toward Nathan at the edge of the square. Her smile sharpened. Ava knew that look. It was the look of someone who didn't just want to win, someone who wanted to humiliate. Ava's hands clenched around her clipboard. Not tonight, she prayed silently. Not tonight. The mayor began speaking, voice booming warmly. Merry Christmas, everyone. Cheers rose. Ava stood near the donation table, smiling, clapping with the crowd. Then the mayor turned serious. This year, he said, we faced challenges, weather, delays, setbacks, but we didn't give up. He gestured toward the tables. Because of this community, families will have a meal tonight. Kids will have gifts. Neighbors will have warmth. Applause erupted again. Ava's chest tightened with pride, real, honest pride. She had done this. They had done this. Then Miranda stepped forward suddenly, raising her hand. Mr. Mayor, she called sweetly, voice loud enough to carry. The mayor hesitated, then smiled politely. Yes, Miranda. The crowd quieted. Ava's skin went cold. Miranda's eyes glittered. Since we're celebrating community and truth, Miranda said with false innocence, shouldn't we address the rumors that have been swirling? It's Christmas, after all. A season for honesty. Ava's stomach dropped. People leaned in. The town loved rumors dressed as righteousness. Ava's jaw clenched. She stepped forward slightly, ready to cut it off, ready to protect the drive, protect the families, protect the children from adult poison. But Nathan moved first. He walked out of the shadows, calm and steady, stopping a few steps from the stage. He didn't look at the crowd at first. He looked at Ava. His gaze held a silent question. Will you let me? Ava's heart pounded. She didn't nod. She didn't speak. But she didn't stop him. And that, for her, was permission. Nathan turned to the crowd, voice low but clear. Miranda's right about one thing, he said. It's a season for honesty. Miranda's smile widened, expecting victory. Ava's breath caught. Nathan continued, and his voice didn't waver. I came back carrying guilt, he said. And I deserved the town's anger. I deserved suspicion. Murmurs rose. Nathan lifted one hand slightly, steadying the air. But Ava didn't deserve what happened to her, and she didn't deserve to be left in darkness. Miranda laughed sharply. Oh, please, she snapped. You're rewriting history to look noble. Nathan's gaze shifted to her, calm as winter. No, he said. I'm correcting it. He pulled something from his coat pocket, a folder sealed in plastic to protect it from snow. Ava's eyes widened. Nathan held it up. This is a copy of the letter I wrote Ava years ago, he said. The one I delivered to the post office. Miranda's face tightened, color draining. Nathan's voice sharpened slightly. And this is a statement from the former clerk who worked there, signed, confirming that Miranda took it. A collective gasp moved through the crowd. Miranda stepped back, eyes flashing. That's a lie, she hissed, voice cracking. Nathan's expression didn't change. Then explain why the original letter was found unopened in the donation archive binder, he said, voice steady. Ava's pulse roared. People turned to look at Ava, shock written across their faces. Ava felt exposed, raw, trembling inside her coat. But she didn't shrink. She lifted her chin slowly, the way she had learned to do when shame tried to claim her. Miranda's smile broke completely. You're ruining Christmas, she snapped, desperation cutting through her polish. Nathan's answer was quiet and devastating. No, he said. "You ruined hers." The words fell like a judge's gavel. The crowd went silent, truly silent, because for the first time the town couldn't pretend. They couldn't hide behind rumors. They couldn't blame Ava for being naive. They had to face the fact that someone had stolen her truth and fed her to the town's cruelty. Ava's throat burned, tears gathering, but she didn't let them fall yet. Miranda's eyes darted toward the crowd, searching for allies, but people were looking away now, embarrassed, stunned. She turned sharply and pushed through the crowd, leaving behind the scent of perfume and defeat. The moment she disappeared into the snow, the square felt lighter, like a window had been opened in a suffocating room. Ava stood still, heart pounding, realizing something terrifying. The town was finally seeing what she had carried alone, and the man who had once left her in the dark was the one holding the flashlight now. Nathan didn't soak in the attention. He turned to the mayor and spoke quietly, giving the folder to him, then stepped back as if the truth belonged to Ava, not to him. Ava's chest tightened. She walked forward slowly, not toward the stage, toward Nathan. The crowd watched, but Ava didn't care. She stopped in front of him, close enough to see the snow melting on his lashes, close enough to feel the tremor in his breath. "You didn't have to do that," she whispered, voice shaking. Nathan's eyes held hers. "I did," he said softly. "You deserved your name cleared." Ava swallowed, tears finally slipping free, hot against cold air. She hated crying in public, but these tears weren't weakness. They were release. "You still left," she whispered, the truth she couldn't ignore. Nathan nodded, pain crossing his face. "Yes," he admitted, "and I'll carry that forever." He took a breath. "But I'm here now, and I'm not asking you to pretend it didn't hurt." Ava's lips trembled. She stepped closer, voice barely audible. "I don't know how to forgive what I survived," she confessed. Nathan's voice was a whisper. "Then don't rush it. Just let me earn the next day." The music started again. Soft carols drifting through the square like a gentle permission to breathe. Snow fell lighter now, almost like blessing. Ava stared at Nathan, heart pounding, then lifted her hand and touched his cheek. Brief, careful, as if testing reality. Nathan didn't move. He didn't grab her. He didn't claim her. He just stayed still, eyes shining with reverence. Ava leaned in first, the choice fully hers, and kissed him. Slow at first, then deeper as years of pain and longing collided with truth and hope. The crowd faded into background blur. Under Christmas lights and falling snow, Ava felt something she hadn't felt in years. Not certainty, but possibility. And in that possibility, the miracle finally began. The kiss didn't fix the past. It didn't erase the years Ava spent learning how to smile through pain. It didn't rewind the nights she cried into pillows so no one would hear. But it did something quieter and more powerful. It told the truth her heart had been afraid to admit. She still had the ability to choose. Not out of weakness, not out of nostalgia, out of strength, out of light, out of a faith that didn't deny scars, but believed scars didn't get the last word. Ava stepped back first, breath visible in the cold, her forehead nearly touching Nathan's. The Christmas lights above them flickered softly, as if the town itself had paused to watch something sacred happen. Nathan's eyes were glassy, stunned, reverent, like he still didn't know how to stand in grace without flinching. "Ava," he whispered, as if her name belonged to a prayer he didn't deserve to finish. Ava swallowed, heart pounding, and spoke with the kind of honesty that didn't need volume. "Don't ruin this," she said, and her voice trembled not with fear, but with hope that had fought its way back to life. Nathan nodded slowly, as if he understood the weight of that sentence better than anyone. "I won't," he promised. Not loudly, not dramatically. Just truth. Simple as breath. Around them, the festival continued. Children laughed. Hot cocoa steamed. Carols drifted through the square. The world didn't collapse because Ava chose to forgive in a small, imperfect way. It didn't punish her for daring to believe in change. Instead, the world kept turning like it always had. Only now, Ava didn't feel like she was surviving it alone. The mayor cleared his throat on the stage, voice soft, careful, humbled by what had just unfolded. "Let's keep the focus on what matters," he said to the crowd. No one argued. People didn't look hungry for drama anymore. They looked embarrassed. They looked reflective. Some looked at Ava with regret in their eyes, the quiet kind that finally admits, "We were part of the cruelty." Mrs. Delaney wiped tears from her cheeks, smiling at Ava like a woman watching a miracle unfold in real time. Nathan stepped back into the shadows again just as he promised. But Ava reached for his hand first, briefly, deliberately, before letting go. A silent message. You don't get to hide from the good you're becoming. Nathan's chest rose with a shaky breath, and he nodded as if that single touch gave him more responsibility than any accusation ever had. Later that night, when the last families left with full bags and warm food, Ava returned to the library with the volunteers to pack up what remained. The tree lights inside blinked steadily now, no longer uneven. Someone had fixed it. Ava didn't ask who. She already knew. Nathan stayed outside, clearing snow from the steps again. And when Ava finally opened the door, her cheeks pink from cold, he stopped shoveling, as if the moment mattered more than the work. Ava wrapped her scarf tighter and studied him in the glow from the library windows. "You did everything you said you would," she murmured. Nathan's eyes held hers, steady and humble. "I'm not done," he answered quietly. "I'm not here to have one good night and call it redemption." He swallowed. "I'm here to become the kind of man who can be trusted in ordinary days, not just dramatic ones." Ava's throat tightened at the word ordinary. Ordinary was what she had wanted years ago. Ordinary was what he hadn't given. Ava stepped closer, snow crunching under her boots. "I can't promise you forever," she said honestly. Nathan nodded like he expected nothing else. "I won't ask for forever," he replied. "Just let me earn tomorrow." Ava stared at him for a long moment, the kind of silence that isn't emptiness, it's decision. Then she reached into her coat pocket and pulled out something small, a wrapped box, simple, modest, the paper slightly wrinkled from being carried. Nathan's brows furrowed. "Ava," he started, voice breaking. Ava held it out. "It was supposed to be for you years ago," she whispered. "I never gave it because you never came back." Nathan's hand shook as he took it, like the box weighed more than it should. He unwrapped it slowly. Inside was a small ornament, glass, clear, with a tiny star inside it. On the back, in Ava's handwriting, were words so simple they hurt. Home. Nathan stared at it, breath hitching. Tears slipped down his face without permission. He didn't wipe them away. He didn't pretend he was fine. He just stood there, finally honest enough to let grief and gratitude exist in the same breath. "I don't deserve this," he whispered. Ava's eyes shone, but her voice didn't waver. "No," she said softly. "You don't?" And then she stepped closer, placing her hand against his chest, right over his heart, like she was anchoring him to the truth. "But you needed it," she added, voice breaking with tenderness. "And I'm choosing to be part of what God rebuilds. Not because you earned my past, because you're fighting for your future." Nathan let out a shaky breath, his forehead dropping gently against hers. "I will spend my life proving I'm not the man who leaves," he murmured. Ava closed her eyes, letting the words settle. Then she opened them again and said the only thing that mattered now. "Then stay, not perfectly, not loudly, just stay." Nathan's arms wrapped around her slowly, carefully, like he was afraid to hold too tight and turn love into possession. Ava melted into him anyway, letting herself be held without fear for the first time in years. Outside, the snow fell soft. Inside, the library lights glowed warm. And in the quiet between them, the miracle wasn't that he came back. The miracle was that he came back different. And the other miracle, just as holy, was that Ava didn't lose herself in the choosing. She stayed Ava, strong, wise, rooted, with boundaries and truth. Love didn't erase her strength. Love honored it. Nathan lifted her chin gently, asking with his eyes instead of taking with his hands. Ava answered by leaning in first, again, choosing him again, slowly, deliberately. The second kiss tasted like promise, not pressure, like winter turning into warmth. like two broken stories deciding they didn't have to end in ruins. The last scene was simple. No grand speeches, no fireworks. Just Ava and Nathan standing on the library steps under Christmas lights, snow settling on their shoulders like blessing. Ava's hand in his. Nathan's gaze steady. Two people breathing in the same quiet, building something real, one day at a time. Because the greatest Christmas miracles aren't the ones you see on a stage. They're the ones you live in the dark, until love finally teaches you how to stay. If this story touched your heart, if you've ever been left, judged, or forced to rebuild yourself in silence, comment, "I choose healing so I can pray for your strength and read your story." And if you believe in second chances with boundaries, truth, and redemption, subscribe to Redeemed Hearts for more Christmas redemption stories every week. Share this video with someone who needs hope tonight, because sometimes the miracle isn't getting the past back. It's discovering that God can still write a new ending.